Welcome back, everybody. So in this video, we have a big topic, and I think that this topic has the ability to quite literally be a paradigm shift in your understanding and of your reality. So it's a bit of a difficult topic to discuss. I'm going to do my best to make it concise and hopefully clear, but please let me know in the comments how you found this video and how it strikes you. So we're going to open with a thought experiment. Consider everything that you see in your external world. So the flowers behind me speaking into the camera, all of that is being recorded, of course, by my camera. It's being uploaded onto YouTube, and now you are watching it at some point in the future and at some place or location on this planet. But what is it that is taking in all of this information? What is it that takes in all of the things that you see, you hear, all of your senses, every bit of information that you glean from the environment? What is it that takes in that information? There's one thing, and only one thing in this entire universe that allows you to take in everything that you see and experience, and everything that you've ever experienced and everything that you ever will experience. What is it? It has to be our brain, has to be our mind. It is the processing mechanism for all of this perceived data. Everything here. And so you may have heard a lot of people talking about this idea of the mind or the fallacy of the mind, or maybe people are putting it as the fallacy of our external world. If we think about this whole situation, the normal interaction, I think, if we can say normal, I think is this egotistical response of I exist in this thing, this external world. I move through this external world, I glean information from this external world, and therefore I exist within this external world. I can feel the wind on my skin right now. I know there's flowers behind me. I can see the background behind me. My brain is taking in all of this information of this perceived reality in front of me. But what if we flip that script and recognize this one point, that my brain is the only thing that is capable of understanding all of this? If I went brain dead right now, God forbid, I hope I don't as I'm making this video, because I hope this video gets to you and I don't really want to go brain dead in this very moment, right? So if that happens, though, none of this would exist. Literally, all of this would just instantaneously be gone. And there would be no way for me to get any information from this external world that I would believe would still continue. So the only thing that is allowing me to exist in all of this perceived reality is my mind. You know, maybe you've seen Jim Carrey's take on this, his very famous take on this, where he's talking about everything being a construct of the mind, everything being an illusion. This is also metaphorically kind of the background or the theme of the Matrix trilogy, the first one being fantastic. If we look at the world this way, if we look at the external world as something we exist in, then it becomes something that we might exploit, we might take advantage of, we might seek to glean or pull resources from to satisfy our own desires, which is really going to be satisfying our ego. However, if we view everything around us as a projection of our mind, then we get into a very interesting topic. And this is where I think the paradigm really does shift. We were talking about this at one of my master trainings for Usui Reiki Roho recently in Hong Kong. Maybe some of the students who are in that class are watching this video. A lovely, lovely conversation. We exist nonstop, we meaning general society, as people who believe that we are walking into this external world. But what if the external world is simply a projection of our mind? And what I mean by that is not that it's just simply a projection of our mind so that everything is kind of an illusion or is fake. I want to go one step further. What if everything that we see in our external world is not only a projection of our mind, but it's a projection of our mind that helps us understand our attachments to the past and the projections into the future. Remember, the last 2 videos on the channel were all about the precepts. So the first precept, just for today I will not anger, is all about our attachments to the past. The second precept, just for today I will not worry, is all about our expectations of the future. So what if we are existing in this perceived reality and everything that we see is actually a way to help us understand everything that we're holding on to from the past and everything that we are kind of hoping for or worried about in the future? Now, if we start to think about the world like that, it's very interesting, right? Because I can only speak for myself here, but I'm sure that this will resonate. When we change our perspective on life, when we change our perspective on our state of being, when we change our perspective on our circumstance, then our circumstance just dissipates. It's just gone. Everything that you thought you were living in before, as soon as you shift, it disappears. Like you have learned your lesson from that, like you've graduated away from that aspect of your suffering, and now you're in the clear, as it were. I'm sure you can remember moments in your life where this has happened, where somebody finally gets the strength to, leave a bad job or to do whatever, like you make a big change in your life, maybe to ask for a raise, whatever it might be, right? If you fully move into that energy, then you are moving with your trajectory in life, and your external reality changes to meet those expectations. Again, we've probably all experienced that. A classic example is the Schoolyard Bully, this is something that I use in most of my courses. That Schoolyard Bully that always picks on the weakest one, right? Picks on the weakest kid in the class or whatever it might be, until that weakest kid in the class is no longer the weakest kid in the class. When they stand up for themselves, when they fight back, when they do whatever, when they move into that new sense of being of themselves, then the bully just disappears, moves on to somebody else, whatever it might be, and that individual's reality totally changes. So take a second and think in your own life, where have you made these paradigm shifts in your reality, perceived reality, and what did you do to get there? You shift all of your movement of yourself and your being from moment to moment away from our attachments to the past or from the projections into the future. If we are in a state where we are not attached to the past and not projecting into the future, then our future is completely unwritten and it's completely free to become whatever you want it to be. That's so incredible. That's the power of manifestation. That's the power of now, right? If we are able to project ourselves into that state, then your future is quite literally limitless. The energy of the universe is infinite. The energy of all things cares not where it goes or to who it goes to, because it's constantly moving through every possible thing in this entire universe. And everything that you see is simply a function of that energy of the universe. Anything at all. The common example here is money. And I get this all the time in my Reiki practice. I get this with my students, with my clients. I get this quite often with people when they're asking about rates and so on. This is an expression of scarcity. It's a scarcity mindset. So imagine what this means. If I have a scarcity mindset, then that means that everything that I see in my external world is going to reflect that scarcity back to me. So for example, if somebody is starting out a Reiki business, then they might have this idea like, oh, I'm new to the practice, so I'm only going to charge, 20 euros or $20 or whatever it might be per hour. That does not reflect on the quality of the person's service. It actually just reflects scarcity. So while they try to push that product out there, they keep getting resistance because they're not actually living in the state of being of their real worth, of the worth of their practice, of the worth of 1 hour of their time. Again, the energy of the universe doesn't matter. It doesn't care. It doesn't judge where it flows. It flows with abundance through literally everything nonstop. Money is one of those things. So if we change our mindset to recognize that your value is up to you, whatever you charge, if that's what you charge for your practice, then charge that with your full heart and mind. I'm quite often amazed in this holistic world where we can be so critical of money. We can be so critical of what people charge and so critical of the idea of charging for these things in this holistic world. And at the exact same time, we can forget that the champions in this holistic world, the biggest names in this holistic world, they're charging top premium rates for their services because they're worth it. Let's not forget what this really means. If we have that type of resistance, then we are stuck because of our own internal insecurities. And the external world, because it's simply a projection of everything that you're holding on to, is going to bring that back to you. It's going to bring you the idea that it's not fair, that it's too expensive, that it's whatever. It doesn't make any difference. Healing is the same idea. If we are existing in a mindset where we are sick, where we are, out of perfect health or whatever it might be, this woe is me, I'm the victim, all this type of stuff, then the external world will give you an abundance of information, an abundance of circumstances to prove to you that yes, you are sick, yes, you are the victim, all these types of things, and you then reflect it back to the external world, and it becomes a feedback loop. So one continues to get sicker and sicker, or more miserable, more attached, and so suffering just compounds on itself. That changes when we recognize the following 3 precepts. Just for today, I will be grateful. Just for today, I will be honest in my work. And just for today, I will be kind or compassionate to all things. As soon as we start to do that, then we move into a mindset where we are no longer attaching to our sickness. We are no longer angry about our past or worried about the future. And we are moving into a place where everything inside of us can flow naturally. And it's the same with money. It's the same with everything else. Because if we move into each and every moment without any attachment, or that's impossible, right? But with fewer and fewer attachments at each and every moment, then that means that our future moments are more and more free of attachments. So that means they are simply the energy of the universe. The energy of the universe is without form, yet it becomes all form. Everything here around me is an expression of the energy of the universe. This is all a common tenet in Buddhism. It's this idea of the dependent nature or the dependent arising of all things. This is something that I've talked about in a number of my videos here on the channel. I'll leave a link to the Indra's Web one here, which we're going into quite a lot of detail on this concept. But see here, if I can move with the understanding that everything is interconnected and dependent on everything else. So that means that I am dependent on the tree and the flowers just like they're dependent on me. But the only thing that I have agency over is my mind. So in reality, the dependent nature of all things is a function of my own mind. So if I can project neutrality in my mind, and if I can walk into each and every subsequent moment with an increased level of neutrality in my mind, then therefore by reflex and by definition, everything in the universe is also at more of a neutral state, more of a peaceful state, a grateful state, and a kind or compassionate state. And it has to be this way because who is it or what is it that suggests the alternative? Well, it would be my mind, right? It would be my mind that says those things are not in that state. The flowers aren't telling me that. The tree that you can't see, which is behind the camera, is not telling me that. My mind is making that decision. So my mind is projecting a reality in which I'm either locked in attachment and suffering or one that is feeding me back neutrality. In that neutrality, we have the power of abundance because in that neutrality, we have the literal infinite possibilities of the entire universe. And this is how change happens. This is how, miracles happen. This is how the seemingly impossible tasks in life actually become possible. How many impossible tasks have you seen in your life? How many have you seemingly accomplished? How many have we accomplished as a collective species? All of these things are done not because we think we can't, not because we're angry because we can or we're worried about the outcome, but because we try. And we move forward with neutrality, and we move forward with kindness and with honesty, and we keep going in that direction. And as we do that, the seemingly impossible becomes actually the infinitely manifestable. And if we keep moving in that direction, then the seemingly impossible actually begins to become manifested and part of our reality, because it's simply a feedback mechanism. So to me, seeing life in this way has the ability to profoundly change everything that we do. It profoundly impacts your practice of Reiki. If we think about Reiki from this perspective, for instance, we are not seeing Reiki as an external practice of something that I can give you. In reality, Reiki is something that I work on myself, so that everything that I see will hopefully be more neutral, which would mean my clients and my students and everybody that I interact with Reiki. The most important aspect of it is my mind. That's why Reiki, the real name of Reiki, is Shin Shin Kaizen Usui Reiki Roho, the continuous improvement method of our mind and then our body that was first described by Usui Sensei. Continuous improvement method of our mind. What does that mean? Well, to me, it means that I'm continuously working to soften the idea that I am somehow a victim of my external world, and I'm working my best efforts to recognize that I am actually the architect of my external world. That is a paradigm shift. I hope you've enjoyed, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope what I've said has made sense as well. It's a big topic and it may be a little bit abstract. Let me know in the comments below how you found this video. And for everybody who is new to the channel, or everybody who is watching for, the first time, but you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. I really do appreciate your support of the channel, and every subscription and every like on my videos really does help to give a little nudge, let's say it politely, to the YouTube algorithm. So thank you so much for your help and your support of getting these videos out to a wider audience so they might have a positive impact on everybody's individual practice of Usui Reiki Roho. And until I see you next time, it's time for me to continue shaping my external world with continual daily self-practice, continual recitation of the precepts, and continual work on myself. So until next time, be well, everybody, and In Gassho to all.